Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum. Okay, so we had so much that we wanted to discuss with Tonia that we decided to do like another quick 10, 12, could be 15 minutes to go over some stuff. Let me get this intro and we'll get back into our conversation. Yes, one more time. We are going to chat with Tonia for just a few more minutes because I was telling her after the show, I thought about there's the gentleman, what's this gentleman? I don't know if he's still doing it, but there's a gentleman who purposely made it his mission to find small businesses that were not ABA compliant. Literally had food and kinds of stuff. Like he just looked for those businesses. And there are people who, I don't want to say they make it their mission. He made it his mission. So it goes back to your point about don't think that you're too small to be sued or fined.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's because, and for that reason in itself, because people, you try to say, and this person may be doing it just to make sure that it is understood that you're being compliant. Like they're not trying to be malicious about it. They're just bringing awareness to it. But there are things that too, one, you need to know what laws, what regulations you are responsible for having in place. That is number one. So the second thing is that you cannot think that you will be overlooked, especially for the mom and pops, because you're such easy targets. So now I was talking about regulators or someone, regulating organizations coming after you, right? But then you have your everyday people who are like, okay, I see you. How many times have we seen somebody slip and fall? Do the slip and fall on us, right?
The slip and fall.
And you have to have everything in place for that. It's easy to go into and this, I guess I'm gonna bring this back. They may think that, I'm not gonna slip and fall in a little mom and papa bodega or something like that because they don't have any money. I'm gonna slip and fall in like Walmart or Bloomingdale's or something. But that's not always how it works. It's the easiest target, and you are the easiest target. And again, if you think you don't have any money, you're like, and look, I understand when you're like, oh, they can sue me. I know some of you all said that. Oh, they can sue me. They're not getting anything. Okay, let me tell you. And there's a recent person who owes some good people down in Georgia some money. I'm going to put it that way. They used to be well known in New York, and they owe some amazing people. And they might not have money now, but whatever they do from the day until they die, they are going to have to put it into like a little fund and pay Miss Ruby. That's what I'm gonna say. So that's what's gonna happen to you. You think, oh, I don't have $5 now. Like, what they gonna do? Take my bicycle? Well, I hope you never plan on buying anything else. Don't buy a house. Don't buy a car. You go work. Go work for $15 an hour with minimum wage. They're gonna take a little bit of that. And they're going to put it toward whatever you owe. So people will get their money.
We were discussing also that, with lawyers and accountant, when you're a small business owner, a lot of us are using our personal funds to even fund the business. It's like what, the first 6 months to a year, what have you. So we tend to put some stuff off thinking, I'll get to it when, I'll wait till this gets here. But I was mentioning it's like your health. Preventive health may feel as if it costs you more money. It is cheaper than after you're sick and you've got the doctor bills and the medicine and the hospital stay. So if you do what you need to do to take care of your health now, exercise, walk, drink a little red wine because it's good for the heart.
So water.
Then it'll be better. It'll be better for you. But it's a common thing. I mean, I think about how I use my full-time job to pay for a number of things to get started.
Yes.
And I never considered, like, I did tell myself I am borrowing this money, but I don't think I ever paid it back.
Oh, me either. Until I tried to write it off. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm going to take that point of, like, people keep your day jobs if you can, because, again, whatever funds your business. One thing we forget is, you know, it takes money to make money. And also you have to be proactive. And that's what you were saying, you know, we were talking about earlier about being proactive instead of reactive. Because when you're reactive, here we go again with being legally protected is a form of self-care. Because when you're reacting, you know what goes on. It's all kind of things that are going on. You're stressed. Everything is in disarray. You're angry. You're frustrated. You're not going to do what you need to do. Things are going to fall through the cracks. But if you up front get things in order, and again, what I like to do in my business, particularly, you know, as I work with fitness professionals that don't always have money because they've been told, you know, you can start a fitness studio or fitness business for $100K, is that or get $100K doing it, not even $100K. Low overhead businesses, and this is particularly, I would say, for low overhead businesses, things you get into, you don't budget for the protection, but you don't always, you do need an accountant. Listen to, okay, possibly you need to put this in your budget down the line for an accountant and an attorney, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm not talking to you as an attorney right now. I'm talking to you as a small business owner. When you don't have the money, you have to get educated. So what you want to do is educate yourself. As someone said not too long ago, like the school of Google or Dr. Google or whatever. Sometimes
YouTube University, although.
Right, the University of Google, wherever. There are a lot of resources out there. The problem is you don't know where to look. And that's when you need the professionals, because someone can guide you to it instead of you having to reinvent the wheel. So, and that's what I should have mentioned too, when we were talking about some of the things. Get to know people, talk to people. And I would suggest that you almost do it with a lot of people who are outside of your industry. I mean, if I were talking to you and Peggy and RJ, I mean, to know these things, there are just so many things that you don't know, and so many things you're not going to know. I've gone to school for a lot of things. I mean, I stay in my lane with business and intellectual property law. I had issues with my studio. Matter of fact, one of the main reasons why my studio closed, because I didn't know anything about commercial real estate law, okay? So you don't know what you don't know, but you try and at least seek out the information, because it's sort of there. And there are people who are willing to mentor you, because they don't want you going through the same things they went through. So try and find the information. And I don't know how it is for accountants, but the more that you know and have together, when you go to an attorney anyway, don't try and know too much, because it won't help, but know enough so that you can speak to them and get what you need from them when you are talking to them. Because if I go in there like, well, I want to start a business, what I need to know, I'm like, you know, you're paying me by the hour, right? So I'm like, make sure that maybe
you better talk fast.
Right, you better talk fast. You better give me your 5 points that you need.
Like, look, I got 15 questions.
Right. Like, whatever you can get done in this 45 minutes, I'm hearing it. But that's the key, because then we mess around and then we don't do it. And then I tell people a lot of times when I'm trying to work with them in the beginning, they're like, no, I'll do it. Then they get in trouble, and then they come to me and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's above my head. Now you need to get the big lawyers. You need to hit a serious law firm. And now you're out of a lot of money when you could have, you know, gone to someone who knew, just did a few things, get your contracts in order, just understand your business. But you didn't want to do that because that cost you too much money. Now someone's suing you. And
let me ask this question, because I use a contract. I use a contract for my photography business. I have to admit, my coaching business a little lax. I'm not gonna lie. And so I gotta rework some stuff. I've had like a very general something, but that general something needs to be tightened up clearly. But I want to talk about, if you can, trademarks.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. I'm seeing people. There's so many general terms out here, and okay. So let's just say my photography business. It's titled G Photography, LLC. Yeah, because there's no one else is ever using that. Yeah. Everybody and their mama is using G Photography. Hence, I'm G Photography by G. So when do you know to trademark something or copyright something? Like, when do you know?
This question. I'm gonna go with trademarks first, because there are two things and one thing you just said. So there's a big difference between your business name and your brand name. So your business name can be whatever. And I always have a separate business name from my brand name. And if you think about, I'm trying to figure out the best example of something that has one or the other that we all know of. PepsiCo, because I'm in Chicago. So PepsiCo and Quaker, or Lay's potato chips, right? So PepsiCo is the company name. Yes, they do have Pepsi. Pepsi is their brand name. So is Lay's, right? Yeah. Those are brand names. PepsiCo, they don't need a trademark for, because it's their business name. So I don't need a trademark technically for Tonia Fisher IP law. And there are two reasons that you think about this in this manner. One, I'm not going to use it for anything. It's just to sign my checks. It's my government name. Yeah. It's just my name. So when trademarks identify the source of your products and services. So that is the reason behind them. So when something is out there that you know where you got that amazingness from, that those amazing photos, that, you know, amazing coaches, you know who that is. So when you're thinking about them, that's who you look to. Yeah. Your business name, now you can get it trademarked, right? You can get trademark rights for it. You can have that registered. But if it's not really going to be one of your brand names, you don't do it. So here comes the second thing of when should you get something trademarked. First, you come up with the name. So I'll come up with the name. I'm trying to look around. Green Pot. All right. So I'm looking at Green Pot is the name. Green Plant Pot. Maybe I should come up with a name. Green Plant Pot. That's generic. Green Pot. We're going with Green Pot here. All right. So Green Pot for soap, though, however. All right. So not for plants, not for anything else. It is for soap. Doesn't really have anything to do with green or pot. The soap is cream and nothing green about it. It's not sustainable. Nothing. All right. So the keys with that, I've come up with this name. You want to do a search. Does anyone have anything similar to it? Okay. So you want to make sure, because there's this thing, getting a little technical here, called likelihood of confusion. But it's basically, if there's soap on the one aisle, the shelf in Target, they're going to be next to each other. So you're like, okay, I've heard that green soap is the most amazing thing in the world. And then there's something like blue-green soap, a blue-green pot next to it, right? And you're like, green, blue-green, okay, something, it had green in it. All right, I'm grabbing blue-green. Yeah. Blue-green pot soap is the hardest. It's worse than like lava, if anybody knows, or whatever soap that was back in the day. Yes. I've accidentally picked that up in one time. I will never forget that. But your soap is supposed to be luxurious. This is broken you out, all kind of thing. Now you're dry and itching, okay? So now you're mad, and then you tell somebody says something about green, and you're like, crap. I got this green soap, but you're saying it wrong. So you don't want to have it confused because you don't want to infringe on somebody else's right. And then you don't want that to happen, right? So you do a search or whatever. You sort of, there are ways you should do it. Don't just do a Google search. You want to go for the USPTO. But when you have a trademark and you can see from your search that you're not infringing upon someone, there's a thing called common law rights. And with common law rights, so you don't have to necessarily register a mark. And keep that point, because there's a reason why I'm going to say that. And what you want to do, you see that TM, the R in the circle means that it has been registered by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO. But trademarks, you get common rights because in the U.S. it's first to use, not first to register. So what I do tell everyone, if you have a trademark, you put that TM, and you know that you're not infringing upon anyone. Yes. You claim rights to it. You put it on your website. You put it on your products. You put TM on it while you wait. Because I think right now, earlier this week or last week, that I was looking at, the trademark office is now just looking at applications from May of 2023. They're not examining them all the way. They're just getting to the point, right? So then it takes a while to go through that process to get registered. So you're looking at, 2 years almost to actually get a registration. So you're not going to sit around and not claim rights to it, right? What you're going to do is I want you to put that TM down. Now I'm going to go back to when you said, when do you know you should trademark something? Mm-hmm. I always tell people, because this is how people came to me all the time. Oh, I came up with this amazing name. I got this amazing name. I'm going to, file for a trademark for it. I'm going to, now trademark fees may be going up later, but, so maybe $250, you can get a trademark now. You're just starting out. You can barely pay for anything, but you need to get a trademark of a name that you don't even know if you're going to use. And you have to use trademarks. Remember, this is a country of use. So the first to use it, you have to use it. So if I'm going to say that I'm using Green Pot on soap, I have to continuously, exclusively use it on the soap. I can't decide, that didn't sound good. Let me change it up. And now I'm going to do something else. Because now you filed for that. You're going to put in, now, say for instance, you want to put in blue green. Well, that's not what you filed for. You filed for Green Pot soap, not blue green pot soap. So now you won't have a trademark if it even goes through, but it's not going to go through because you can't show you were using it. Second thing with that, you don't know your audience. So maybe your audience is offended by Green Pot soap, like that name. So you need to know your audience before you choose your marks. There's a lot that goes into it besides, this sounds good and I don't want anybody else to take it.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of us have that idea that I don't want someone to steal this name. It's
right. Like this is the best thing since, that anyone can ever think of. Sliced bread, right? And then you find out it doesn't even work for you. And then you don't even want to use it, or you're not even really going to use it. And you'll see a lot of applications. We'll go back to PepsiCo and everything. They'll apply for something. One, they have money. You don't have all that money just to be throwing at the trademark office. But sometimes they'll put it in because they'll use it for maybe a promotion. Maybe it's for the Super Bowl or something like that. And then they're done with it. Yeah. But they can do that. You're not just going to go and spend your money filing things. So I always tell people, you come up with a name, make sure no one else is using it. But what I want you to do is you're going to do your 5-10 year plan with me on this. Are you going to be using this in 5 years? Because in the 5th year for trademark, you have to show, in order to get your mark registered, yes, you get trademarks for 10 years, but it's the 5th year where they ask you, have you been using this exclusively and continuously advertising in interstate commerce, across the your states and everything in the 5th year? So if you don't plan on using this in 5 years, I'm not asking you if you want your business You know, hopefully that's it. But if you're not using this particular mark in 5 years, come up with something else. And then 10 years, because you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
You're just wasting your money. And, you know, I'm a former examiner. You wasting my time. Not that they would say that, you know, but they have enough. They can't
it is a waste of time
applications that they're working on now. You just create more work for people.
On both sides. It is a waste on both sides there. Before look at this. It's already
that's a hard one. I know. 15.
I know, right?
Don't get me started on trademarks.
Can you speak to copyrights?
Oh, okay. So for copyright is another one that people don't understand, that there are common law rights. And that is, as soon as you have created a work, and it looks like my iPad keeps moving back and forth, but as soon as you've created a work, then you have copyrights to it. As in, like, you create a poem, you create a song, you create a workbook that has a lot of creative matter in it, and not just something that is like standard. As soon as you've done that, you have rights in it. Now, I spoke in this, the last one we were talking about, if you monitor your rights and enforce them. But in order to get more money, then you would register your copyright. But here's the key, and this is where we talk about putting the TM and the C in the circle. You got to put people on notice. Again, this is a part of monitoring and enforcing your rights. People don't know you have a copyright to it. People don't know you're claiming trademark rights to it. You don't put that TM on it. You don't put a C on it. You don't say that, you know, copyright, you know how the notice goes. Generally, you put the year, the C, and all rights reserved and all of that. You don't do that, then people are like, well, they must have gotten it from somewhere else and they just plastered it wherever they found it. So you have to put people on notice. You do have to claim your rights rightfully, you know, hopefully you have those rights, but for the rights that you feel and you think you have, put people on notice. And then where the rights, where you get the money, where you get the most protection is when you get it federally registered. Because I'm sure people come up with stuff all the time. And particularly if I come up with the song and I'm paying $45 for each song, like, you know, the Copyright Office is pretty good with that. You could do things with compilations. Again, you know, it just depends on what you have. It's like you don't register each chapter of the book, you register the book, you know, kind of thing. So if you think about it that way, but if you're a coach, and particularly this is an issue that a lot of coaches don't think about. You put people on notice, you put that copyright, you say you own the rights to it, you're not supposed to reproduce this, you know, you get all these 6 rights, you don't reproduce, you don't distribute it anywhere, and you know, the likes, we could go on. And you tell people that, you monitor that, but you can actually register for some of the works that you do if you're putting it down in a framework. I always tell people, like, if you're doing a certification program and the like that, that once you get all of that together in the information, because this is not just general knowledge, you put a creative piece to it, then of course that you get a copyright for it. And it's the same thing people don't realize with photography. That two things that I always get people on: photography, which should be a well-known one, and choreography. You can get copyrights for it. Those are creative works. So you can get and it is it's an expression, a creative expression when you think of choreography, but let's talk about photography, where you put a lot of work into how this photo, this image comes the end result. You know, it's not just as we see me moving around and everything, like, you need to put me in place, you know, get the lighting right and things like that. There's so many elements and creative aspects that go into that, and people just look at it like it's a photo. Could you do that? No. Okay. But you know, I'll go on, but it's but you don't want to do each one. So if you can, you know, compile it, I mean, you can, but You would do that if you know that you want to really enforce your rights and get the most rights out of it. But you have inherent rights as soon as it is created.
Yeah.
And you can sue someone.
You just won't get all the good money. That path. I just figured if I asked somebody,
I was like, don't get me started.
That photo down, because that's not. I was like, well, I got off of Facebook. It's like, yeah, but that wasn't her photo. Like, that's mine.
Exactly. And they're like, why are you mad at me? Because but people don't know, and it's hard for photography. So you're not stamping everything. It's hard to stamp things, and then people will upload something. But where people can put people on notice, they should. And that, the photography. And this is my heart, because that's when I go on the rails about about violators of that.
And some people I don't think it's malicious. Like, there's a guy that I follow on Instagram, and I had done this. I had taken a skyline shot of New York City from the Brooklyn side, and I had added a quote from Gordon Parks and shared it. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, and I was like, that looks like, that is mine. And I can see at the bottom where I had like my little logo on it, he kind of cropped it. I don't think it was on purpose, but he kind of cropped it. I said, hey, where'd you find this? He said, oh, on the internet. And I was like, that's mine. Yes. He's like, well, you should probably like watermark it. I was like, but my logo's in that bottom right corner that's like clipped. So I did that. I mean, he was, he's like, oh yeah, it's a great shot. Yeah, you think? It's like, are you kidding me? But I will say this, Tonia, thank you again for giving us.
You are so welcome.
These extra moments, because we had so many questions. Yeah, so many questions and so many places you can go, especially as a small business owner. We typically like to just get the product done and get this done, and we forget a lot of other stuff. We forget the business mindset. We forget legal protection is bigger than just getting your product out there and knowing who your customer is. It's bigger than that. If you want to be sustainable and profitable,
exactly.
Take care of all your eggs.
Exactly.
What we're saying. What we're saying. So before we go, because I have to shout out myself again, because what I do. We have a newsletter here. We do all the podcasts in a newsletter, and we also recap our podcast guests and their great genius that they share with us. So grhjack.com, sign up for the newsletter there. I don't write it very often because there's a lot of stuff going on out here, so I gotta pace myself. But Tonia, we want to thank you again for giving us more
my honor.
Fisher is on LinkedIn. She is Fisher IP Law on Instagram.
Yes.
As well as
fitpowerfully.com. Yes.
There you go. All right. Let me get this outro, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you for watching another episode of Small Biz Bites with Gwendolyn R. Houston Jack, where we chat with other creatives and small business owners about their journey. And we also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the GR Houston Jack YouTube channel, where you can get the latest and greatest.